Entrepreneur's Journey, the podcast. This is Yaro Starak, and today I have another guest for an interview. This is a friend of mine, or a new friend. Just met him through his website and his partner. His name is Robert Gerrish. Thanks for joining me today, Robert.
Pleasure, Yaro. Good to be here.
So a quick background. I know Robert from his website, flying-solo.com.au, which is an independent professionals or a soloist community site at the moment with a lot of articles for those people out there running their own businesses. So I thought today we just talk a bit, firstly about Robert and who he is and how he got to where he is, and then a bit more about what he does for a living and his flying solo service as well. So Robert, who are you and what's your background?
Okay. Well, look, I should tell your listeners for a start that I'm an Englishman. I'm a Londoner, but I live in Sydney, Australia. I came here in moved to Australia in 1994. When I came here, I was working in the graphic design industry. So I'd worked with a particularly large group in the UK for a number of years, and that sort of followed a career in marketing and design. So throughout the 80s. The old wild 80s, marketing was my thing. So I worked with an independent consultancy in London, and at the end of the 80s, we sold our business to Saatchi & Saatchi, the ad agency, who were the sort of the world's biggest ad agency at that time. And basically, so I kind of learned all about marketing through kind of hands-on work. We were doing brand launches, product launches, corporate identities for big sort of multinationals. And that's really where I kind of did
cut
most
your teeth
to my learning, if you like.
Right.
Say again?
Where you cut your teeth.
Where I cut my teeth, quite
yeah.
right. What basically happened then towards the sort of end of the 80s is I got a bit fed up with the whole big business thing, and meanwhile I was seeing lots of my friends kind of starting their own businesses and having some fun, and I was continually being asked by people to kind of help them with their branding and with their sort of messages and how to get their businesses out into the marketplace. And I kind of accidentally fell into to being an independent consultant, if you like. And I did that for a while in the UK before I, say, relocated to Australia in the mid-90s. And I've been doing it kind of here ever since. So my business, as you've mentioned, is called Flying Solo, and I'm just purely dedicated to helping those people that are running their own show.
Right.
And it's in Australia, in the US, and the UK. It's a huge and growing audience. About 70% of small businesses in each of those areas are run by soloists. I feel very passionate about supporting these people, and I love working on my own, and just want anyone who's doing it to have more prosperity and more fun while they do it.
Right. So it sounds like because of your past successes, you're sort of at a point in your life where you can experiment with your current project. It's not like a live or death situation, is it, at the moment for you?
Yeah, look, there's the way that my business currently runs is I have kind of three income streams, if you like, to my work.
Right.
I work one-on-one with people as a coach, and I do that over the telephone. So I have clients all over the world. Most of them are in Australia, I have to say at this stage. But I coach on 1 day a week, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that is working, I say, on the phone with people that are looking to get more clients or get clearer on exactly where they're going to with their business. So working on the vision for their business, maybe working on the kind of efficiencies for their business, how they can get more work done in less time and have a lot more fun doing it. So I do that for a day a week, and that gives me, if you like, my kind of foundational income that will keep food on the table for my family and will keep a roof over our heads.
Right. And what's a typical client? Are we talking small, medium, large business?
No, they're all small. They're all
right.
Either solo business owners or people that are working in very small groups. So I do a lot of work with designers, writers, architects, financial planners, mortgage brokers. Just let me look at my list.
I'm
Trainers,
curious.
all that lot.
I'm just going to say, what do these people like? What's their common problems? How are they? Why do they need your services?
Okay, well, one of the main reasons they need my services is to have somebody to hold them accountable to where they're actually trying to get to with their business.
Right.
One of the real kind of challenges, I think, for people working on their own is that they are on their own. And what I do as a coach is I get very clear with those people at the beginning, where are you trying to get to in your business? With some people, the focus might be on business growth, getting more income. With others, it may be on having a better balance, so do less work, have more fun. For others, it may just be clarification on, where the hell am I going to with this business? So my role as a coach is to get clear on what is the kind of key focus, and then to hold those people accountable. So each week or each fortnight, I'll be saying, "Come on, Yarrow, you said that you wanted to get X, Y, and Z done in your business.
Right.
Have you done it? If not,
You're like an
why
annoying
haven't you
parent,
done it?"
aren't you?
I'm just like an annoying parent. Yes, only you pay me.
Sounds like a great thing for you to do.
Look, I absolutely love it, and of course, what it does is it really keeps me immersed in this whole solo business area. I do a lot of writing so I was talking about my income streams, wasn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Coaching is one of them. Another is writing. I do a fair bit of writing. I write in a national newspaper in Australia each week, and I write an article for a couple of magazines, and I write a weekly newsletter. And all the content for my writing comes from my coaching. It basically comes from learnings and experiences that I have through my coaching.
Right.
So writing is not a huge income stream for me, but I earn a little bit from it. I've recently, with Sam, my business partner, Samantha, we've written a book, and that's creating a little bit of revenue for us. But ultimately, what we're looking to do with Flying Solo is to create there a business that has some kind of real value as well. And the third area where I actually earn revenue is for speaking, running workshops and presentations, again, for solo businesses. So I'm currently in the middle of a tour where I'm going around the country speaking to groups of mortgage brokers and helping them with word-of-mouth referral marketing. So I talk and facilitate discussions around how they can get more word-of-mouth referrals in their business.
Right. So sounds like most of your current work is as a result of your good standing in the community that you're operating with. So I'm curious, how did you establish this sort of you talk about word of mouth, so you've obviously leveraged that yourself quite a bit. But how did you first get going for someone who wants to be doing what you're doing? Like, how do they get to where you're at?
Okay, great question. Whoops, let me just kill that fan.
Go ahead.
Sorry. That's gone. Well, no, it's not. How I actually got started, I would say the kind of the short, smart answer to that is I got very, very clear about what it was that I felt strongly about, and I'll just explain that a little further. When I started moving into this whole kind of solo business area, I was absolutely kind of brimming with passion. I really wanted to achieve so much and do so much. So what I started to do at the very outset was I was talking to anyone and everyone who would listen to me about how I kind of felt about solo businesses. So I was writing letters and emails to journalists and editors of publications. If I saw an article about business, I would write a letter saying, it's all very well to talk about business. What about solo business? Our issues are different. We feel differently about things. And so I was kind of Mr. Angry. So a minute ago you had me as a nagging parent. Now I'm Mr. Angry.
Now you're the annoying child.
Yes. But I was speaking up, basically. Anybody who'd listen, I spoke up about it. And I did it just because I felt passionate about it. I can't say that I did it as a concerted kind of marketing strategy. I just did it because I felt strongly about it. But what happened quite rapidly in some cases, was that people started paying attention. I started getting invitations for interviews for publications. I love writing, and I was invited to actually submit a couple of articles to publications. Allen and Unwin, the book publisher, invited me to write a book. Things just started to happen, all because I was really clear what it was that I felt strongly about. I got really clear on my opinions, and I started telling the world about it. Mm-hmm. So the whole kind of attraction principle, if you like, just by being out there, I was quite social. I'd go out to networking events, and I'd talk about and kind of really bang this drum about, running a business on your own and how to enjoy it. And it really started to work.
Right.
Also at that time, I should tell you one other thing that happened was that the ABC were doing a documentary on new sort of work practices. This was in 1998. And coaching at that time is very, very new in the world, and particularly new in Australia. And they, through a twist of delightful fate, they ended up interviewing me on this Four Corners documentary. Well, that really helped significantly. My phone rang red hot for weeks after that, and all sorts of opportunities open up. So it was a lot of kind of right time, right place, but also just having the courage to stand up and kind of bang on about what I felt strongly about. And to this day, that's the thing that works.
Right. So you established a reputation through a lot of exposure, which I think is some really good advice there. But while you were doing that in the early days, what were you positioning yourself as? I know, financially there would have been an underlying need to get clients or land gigs. Now, you said you got a contract to write a book, so that would have been a bit surprising, and there would have been an income stream. But was it just purely clients you were trying to get to of the sort of
Look, in the early days,
style?
it was pure. Exactly. In the early days, it was purely clients. That was really that's as far as I could see at that time. And I also, I somewhat naively, in hindsight, I kind of imagined that I could forever and ever just work as a coach. I earned quite a good sum of money doing my coaching, a good sort of hourly rate. I don't think of it in hourly rates, but if one did, it's quite a healthy hourly rate. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of sat there and I thought, okay, well, if I sell 30 hours a week at X $100 a session, that's a nice income. So that's how I started. I thought, well, that'll do. That's a nice little business. I'd moved from London to Australia primarily as a lifestyle choice. I didn't want, I got sick of, frankly, of living in a really big, hustling, bustling city, and I
went to Sydney.
Yeah, well, Sydney, I still find relatively peaceful compared to London. But anyway,
fair enough.
Yeah, so that it was a lifestyle choice, and I thought I could do this. I could just sit here on the phone. I can earn nice fees for doing this. Kind of job done, game over. However, what I didn't realise is actually it is quite hard work to work with a lot of individuals. A kind of practitioner one-on-one. It's not the world's greatest business model. It's quite good fun, but it's also pretty tiring. So I fast realised that, hey, hang on a minute, I need to be a little bit smarter about this, and how can I spread my message and sell my skills in a different way, and also in a way that would reach more people. That was one of the main motivations.
Right.
And I started my email newsletter. I started in 1999, which is pretty early days for a newsletter. And I started
Certainly in Australia.
Say again?
Certainly for Australia.
Certainly for Australia,
field,
exactly. Yeah. And I started with 60 email addresses, and 58 of them were friends on the other side of the world who I just bombarded whether they wanted it or not. But little by little that grew. It's now 12,500, which is quite a nice number. But I realised that I was kind of onto something. People were interested in what I had to say, and initially everything was all aimed at just getting one-on-one coaching clients. But I fast realised that that wasn't the best business model, and also I couldn't cope with all of those clients. 12,500 subscribers can get me a lot more clients than I would ever want to have.
Yep.
I need anyway. Sorry.
Victim of your own success.
Yeah, kind of. It's just that I'd love to sit here and pretend that I had this fantastic master plan at the beginning and I've stuck to it, but I haven't. It's evolved a great deal, and I honestly believe that particularly if we're working on our own, we need to kind of reinvent ourselves and constantly evolve. Where would we be if we didn't embrace and evolve some of the new technologies and strategies we have? The main thing, I think, is just getting out there, get moving, and then once you're kind of communing well with the world that you want to commune with, then you can observe and follow some different sort of areas. Not everything I've done has been hugely successful, but generally speaking, it's all going in the right direction.
Yes, there's some good points there. I know I've written quite a few articles on the power of putting into action, despite a bit of worry about whether you're doing the right thing, or you don't actually know what the medium term or the big picture is going to be, but you know what you want to become eventually. So,
look, the thing is, you're never going to get anywhere if you just stand still.
Right.
You've got to start movement in some kind of direction to be able to say, you know what, I'm not sure this is the direction I want it. The sun looks a bit brighter up that street.
Right.
But it's never going to come to us. We have to start moving. And so I also think one of the key things is being very, very strongly in touch with what you feel passionate about, what you feel strongly about, because opinions attract. If you stand on a soapbox and just talk about kind of nothing, everyone's just going to walk past you. But if you stand on a soapbox and you've got something that you want to say, and it's something that interests people, people are going to remember it, they're going to talk to others about it, it's going to start to happen. Being bland doesn't work, basically.
No, being an everyman doesn't work either. So.
No, that's right. Have I got time to give you a very quick little analogy?
Go ahead,
yeah?
certainly.
A few years ago, I was on a self-defense course. Don't ask me why. One of these courses where you're taught how to throw people over your shoulder and kick them where it hurts and all that kind of thing.
Yes.
And the one thing I really remember from this course was one thing the instructor said. He said, if you're being set upon in the street by a gang of youths, he said, there's no point just screaming for help, because people just walk past. Our newspapers are full of stories where people say, I was being beaten up, and everybody just walked past. This is what happens, because everybody assumes someone else is going to come to your help. What he told us was that if you're being set upon in the street, what you need to do is you need to appoint someone. You need to say, you over there in the green shirt with the little dog, help me. And by so doing, that person is not going to walk past because they've been appointed to help you. And that's what we need to be doing with our marketing messages. If we're putting marketing messages out that are just help, 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 no one's really taking it in. But if we say, you, solo business owner, struggling to get clear on where you're going, sick of working all hours, way out of touch with your family and your lifestyle, help me, or I can help you, it's far better to be heard well, really well, by one person than to be ignored by thousands. Anyway, that's my analogy.
Nice. And at the end of that course, did you feel more physically able to protect yourself? Or?
Not at all. No, absolutely hopeless. But I know how to scream, and I know whenever I see someone walking past, I think, okay, you've got a green shirt and a pair of jeans. I'm all
right.
ready. Come and get me. I'm ready.
See, you're walking around marking your saviors all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, all I hope for is that I don't get dragged into an alleyway where there's no one around, because then all I can do is just hand them all my money and say, please leave me alone.
Yeah. Okay, so moving forward with the, it seemed you got to a point where you had enough clients and you knew that that part of your business was certainly taken care of, and you wanted to, I guess, make more pillars of yourself and your business, of what you do, multiple income streams, that sort of thing. So when was the convergence towards the Flying Solo project and that sort of thing?
Basically, when that happened through sort of delightful serendipity, I guess. I mentioned to you that Alan Unwin had approached me a number of years ago, asked me to write a book. At about the same time, my wife and I had a child. And for those people who are listening who have a young child, it's kind of takes your focus away, quite delightfully so. The the main sort of implication on my work was that any chance of writing a book just went right out the window, because I just wasn't getting focused on it. I wasn't able. I was concentrating on either helping my wife with our son or doing my coaching, and the whole kind of space to sit there and delightfully, pontificate and create a book. That space just kind of evaporated. And what happened after about 2 years, the publisher, Alan Unwin, got in touch with me again, and they said, "Well, look, are you going to write this book or aren't you?" They were getting a bit fed up with me. By that time, I'd met Samantha Leader, and she had written a couple of interview articles for my newsletter, and I got on really well with her, really respected her, and just liked her very much as a human being, great person. So to cut a long story short, I put the proposition to her that, hey, why don't we write a book together? And she was absolutely delighted to do that. And so again, to cut a long story short, over the next 12 months, we wrote this book together. And it was an absolutely delightful and wonderful process. At the end of it, happily, the publisher loved it, and they suggested to us that we call it Flying Solo. Well, by then, Flying Solo was already the name of my newsletter. They then suggested we call our book Flying Solo, which I thought, well, hey, that can't be bad. And so also at this sort of time, Sam and I were talking about many other things. She's much younger than I am. She's much more kind of progressive, and I don't know, just has a very pleasantly alternative and different outlook to solo businesses than perhaps I do. But together, I think we make a fairly formidable team. And we just agreed that, hey, we've got to do something bigger and better here. So out of that was born the idea to create much more of a sort of an online community, much more of a resource that didn't just rely on my writing or Sam's writing or our kind of resources, but that would be much greater. So, today the site's already in 6 months has grown to a site where we've got 26, I think it's 26 or 27 contributors, including the wonderful Yarrow Starak. It's got a nice, we're getting about 11,000 visitors a month coming to the site. It's early days, but it's going pretty well. And I've forgotten what your question is, but anyway.
No, you think you answered.
I hope so.
How you reached Flying Solo.
Yeah, that's how it happened. So it's very new for us, but we're very, very excited about the possibilities and just the opportunity to create something that has some meaning to a lot of people. Basically, that's what we want to do.
So, what's a typical day in the life then for Robert? You've obviously got your family as a number one priority. Yep. Flying Solo. You're doing a speaking tour at the moment with this sort of an education sort of seminar series, I guess the best way to put it.
Yep.
So you have a very varied lifestyle, obviously. Do you find trouble getting focused with this, or is the variety just a wonderful thing?
Look, I don't have too much trouble, and I guess this is again one of the reasons why I'll never let go of coaching completely. Is it really that keeps me focused? When I'm constantly speaking to other solo business owners and talking to them about issues in their business, it is just a regular and constant reminder to me of where my priorities need to be and where my focus needs to be. So I can't escape it, basically, which is delightful. I have now a number of people, be they clients, site visitors, e-zine readers, who are kind of expecting me to be focused and know what I'm talking about. So, with those kind of demands, it's not an option for me to, occasionally, look, I'm not pretending I'm an absolute hero here. There are times when I completely lose it and go way out of focus, but happily it doesn't last for terribly long, because it can't, it just can't.
Okay, so given we probably got a few listeners here who are in fact solo professionals as well, just to put on your coaching hat for a second, what's the most common issue you find you come across with your clients, and then how exactly you help them through it, or what advice do you give to them?
I would say that probably not necessarily the most common issue, but certainly the piece that I think is missing for a very, very large percentage of not just solo business owners, but I think it's prevalent within solo business owners. What's really missing is a clear picture of where is this all headed. What's the vision for this business? And regardless, if people may be coming to me saying that they're overwhelmed, they've got too much work, they've got too little work, they're working too many hours, they're not working enough hours, they're not getting paid enough. All of these, underneath so many of these issues, all in most cases it comes back to what's the vision? Where are you trying to get to with this? Because we need a vision to pull us forward. A vision will help us make decisions, will help us answer the questions that rattle around in our head. And without a vision, I just think we're just kind of floating in a massive kind of ocean, hoping that the wind or the tides, the currents are going to blow us somewhere nice. A vision is what should underpin every single thing that we do in our business.
Okay, so that's a big picture where you want to be in 5-10 years sort of vision we're talking
about.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be 5 or 10 years. Some people can't. I've worked with a number of people. Well, I say, give me a 5-year vision for your business, and they will stare at a blank sheet of paper for weeks. So
I would.
That can be too far away. So in that instance, bring your vision to 1 year away, 12 months away, and just. A good exercise is just to kind of write a letter from the future. Write a letter to yourself or someone imaginary, or write it to me if you like. Just saying how you want to be working, what you want to be doing, how you want to be spending your life, what kind of people you see around you, what's exactly what sort of things are you up to, what excites you, what's giving you your energy. Just create something like that to start with as a starting point, and then say, okay, if that's where I want to be in a year, what should I be starting to do now? What can I be doing now?
This is very, very life coaching style, isn't it?
This is
where it sort of it crosses the boundary from business to life coaching, because I know really for most independent professionals, solo business people, their business is a big part of their life.
Of course it is.
I think the boundaries are quite blurred there. Really, a business can be your life as long as you've got balance with other things.
I totally agree with that, and I see no problem with there being a blur. We shouldn't. A phrase that I use quite regularly is that we shouldn't be struggling to have a balance between life and work. We should work to have a balance within life and work. So balance is not something that you do on weekends and at night. Balance is something that you do all the time. And so
I just read that in your book,
Did you? Well, there you go. But to try and delineate between the two can often create more of a struggle. What we should be doing is getting clear on where we want to be, how we want things to be, and then that can help us get clear on, okay, if that's what I want to be in a year's time, what's the starting point now? What should I be doing now? Often the reason people fall into bad procrastination or start allowing kind of second-rate clients into their business, or start getting involved in work that they really shouldn't be doing, is because there's no clarity of vision. There's no idea of where you want to go, and that's the starting point. I think. I hope that answers your question.
It certainly does. I've got another question regarding try and get some more life coaching advice out of you. I have a lot of my friends who often know what their vision is in terms of the lifestyle they want in the near future, but often the nuts and bolts are dragging them down, and procrastination, daily stresses, doing activities that they don't enjoy, although they do lead towards the big picture, are really dragging them down. So what sort of advice do you give to those kind of people who are caught in the mundane, I guess?
Well, I would say to some of that, I actually feel that this, to some extent, is a bit a side effect of, I think, some of the sort of propositions and dreams that are being kind of put out there in this modern world that we live in. I think that there are, we don't have to go terribly far on the internet to find websites that are promising all sorts of fantastic multiple income streams and, earn thousands of dollars a month and walk around in your bare feet. All these, there's so many of these stories being put out there. But in fact, what I think they're doing is that they're giving people a very unrealistic expectation of the amount of effort that's necessary to create anything. And I would say to a lot of people that are just struggling with the mundane is just accept that, some of this just has to be done. It's part of what is necessary. So get over it. Any kind of show me a business that's an absolutely easy peasy business that has no mundanity involved in it and no effort involved in it. I mean, please. The only businesses, well, I don't know any business like that. Whenever I work with someone who comes to me and says, I need more customers or I need more income, I say, well, there's only two things I can think of. Either sell your body or rob a bank. I haven't got a load of clients sitting in my drawer. A lot of we have to put effort into these things. So, look, I don't know if that's an acceptable or even a necessarily terribly pleasant response to what you say, but I would say the thing is more than anything is just be realistic. And with a lot of these things that do seem to be mundane, they've got to be done. They've got to be done to start with.
I was going to say that I thought you might have said that it was perhaps a misalignment with the really important goals, because I think some people get so involved with, like you said, getting more clients and getting more money. Often the money equation is the most important variable that people put their energy towards, which I always think is a recipe for disaster in a lot of ways. So perhaps reassessment of what actually leads to the happiness in the business is a bit more important than client attraction and that sort of thing.
Look, I couldn't agree with you more. Look, you put that beautifully. You make a very good life coach, Yara. You're so right. But what unfortunately the message increasingly that's being sold out there is all kind of money, 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 success, success, success. And if that's the kind of dream or the vision that you're following, I'm afraid it's highly likely that there's going to be a lot of struggle along the way, because nothing is an effort or a struggle if you're really following your passion and you're totally in touch with your opinions. And if ever things are a struggle, I would say have a look at what's actually causing this struggle. Why is it you've got it? Why does it seem to be this difficult? And the likelihood is that there